Welcome on board, chosen one. Look around for a second. Look at how quiet it got. Funny, right? These same people who ran their mouths, who swore you were overreacting, who laughed at your loyalty, now they sit there blinking like the universe cut their Wi-Fi. Because guess what? You saved the wrong person. And now that person is out there tearing down every clown who doubted you, one by one. Clean, precise, no mercy. Remember what they said? Why would you help them? Remember the tone? That cheap little smirk like they knew something you didn't. Look who's panicking now. Look who suddenly can't sleep. Look who keeps refreshing their screen like danger is coming straight for them. Oh, the irony. Oh, the comedy. The legend they told you to avoid is the very one making everyone bow their head in regret today. Chosen one, press the like button and subscribe to pay this message back. The air around you shifted and you felt it. That silence after the storm. That weird tension when you walk into a room and everyone acts normal, but their shoulders stiffen. People pretend they're not watching you, but trust me, they are. They're replaying your old choices, your old warnings, your old instincts. And now they see you were right the whole time. This isn't imagination. This is aftermath. You helped someone when the whole world counted them out, not because you were naive, not because you were soft, because your heart was built in a way their minds can't understand. You actually felt their pain. You saw something buried under all their chaos, a spark, a fight, a force. The universe whispered and you listened. But here's the part that slices deep. They weren't weak. They weren't lost. They weren't helpless. They were dangerous. They were asleep. They were a storm waiting for one act of kindness to wake them up. And you, you were the one bold enough to do it. You walked into their darkness with your bare hands. You didn't flinch. You didn't look away. You trusted your gut even when everyone laughed. And you carried someone who wasn't supposed to be carried. Let me paint the truth plainly. You didn't save a broken soul. You saved a weapon. You saved someone the universe had wrapped in warning tape. And now that weapon is alive again, loaded, sharpened, and out there dismantling every ego that ever used your name as a joke. And the world feels it. Oh, they feel it? Pay attention to the shift. The same people who mocked your choices now talk softly around you. The ones who rolled their eyes now avoid making any sudden moves. The ones who said, "You're making a mistake," now walk on eggshells, hoping you won't remind them how loud and wrong they were. They thought you rescued weakness. Instead, you awakened power. Raw, silent, violent power. And here's the part no one wants to admit. They're not afraid of the person you saved. They're afraid of you because it means you saw the truth before anyone else. You recognized potential before the world did. You fed strength before strength remembered who it was. This is the kind of instinct that scares people. This is the kind of loyalty that becomes legend. Let me tell you something personal, something real, something that hits bone. Chosen ones like you always go through this. You saved the wrong person and the world thinks you're foolish. Then that same wrong person becomes the nightmare the world should have prepared for. Years ago, someone just like you picked up someone that society had thrown away. People mocked them, called them stupid, called them blind. Guess what happened? That broken person rose up and became the one who protected them from every snake that tried to ruin their life. Years later, those same haters whispered, "How did you know? How did you see that coming?" Because chosen ones don't choose with logic. They choose with truth. And truth sees what lies can't hide forever. Now look at today. History is repeating itself. You gave someone strength, and now they're out there proving every critic wrong. They're shutting down every rumor. They're crushing every enemy who tried to embarrass you. They're clearing the path the universe meant for you. This is your payback arc. This is your proof. This is your villain moment turned hero story. You saved the wrong person, and the universe turned that mistake into your greatest victory. The enemies feel it. The world sees it. And you're just getting started. And listen, chosen one, before we move forward, I want you to feel this moment settle into your bones. Because what comes next isn't light. It isn't soft. It isn't polite. We're about to break down exactly how your one wrong decision turned into the universe's biggest plot twist, and how the person you saved is now out there shaking every coward who doubted you. If you're still here, that tells me something loud. You're built for this story. You're wired for truth that other people run from. So do this for yourself, for your growth, for your arc. Drop a comment with 777 to show you're ready to walk through this whole transformation and claim the power you accidentally awakened. Consider it your mark, your signal, your way of standing with the version of you who refused to give up on someone the world misjudged. And now, chosen one, let's dive in step by step. Trust this pull you feel. If you're truly the one the universe has its eyes on, you won't click away. You'll stay until the end, because deep inside, you know the next part is where everything finally clicks. Let's begin. Number 1. The victim you saved was actually the nightmare they feared. Funny how they mocked your loyalty. And now the same nobody you saved is the storm flipping their whole world upside down. You want the truth? You didn't rescue some fragile human aching for protection. You rescued the exact force everyone else was praying would stay asleep. You reached into the wreckage and pulled out someone the universe had wrapped in warning tape. Someone the cowards whispered about but never understood. Someone who looked broken on the surface, but beneath the cracks lived something fierce, sharp, and impossible to cage. And the best part, you didn't even flinch. You walked straight into their darkness and said, "I'll help you anyway." Let's talk about that for a second. Most people only love what's easy, clean, and approved by the crowd. They run from anything that feels unpredictable or too intense. They don't have the heart or the spine for it. But you saw someone everyone else had thrown away. And instead of following the crowd, you followed your instinct. You didn't care that they were rough around the edges. You didn't care that people warned you. You didn't care that loving them felt like touching fire. Deep down, you sensed something the world missed. You saw power where others saw a problem. You saw potential where others saw danger. You saw fire where others saw smoke. And trust me, that shakes people, because it proves you were built with vision they could never copy. It proves you see things long before they show themselves. It proves you're the kind of chosen one who identifies greatness before greatness wakes up. But here's the twist that hits the enemy right where it hurts. They laughed at you for helping this person. They called you foolish. They whispered, "You're being used." They rolled their eyes every time you defended someone they labeled as hopeless. They thought they were smarter than you, more experienced than you. They acted like they knew something you didn't. Now look at them. Look at how fast their voices vanished. Look at how fast their confidence collapsed. Look at how fast they switched from mocking you to watching their backs. Because the victim you saved, yeah, that wasn't a victim. That was a sleeping predator. A beast the world misjudged. A mind sharper than anyone realized. A soul carrying scars that weren't signs of weakness, but proof of survival. Picture this. It's like you found a sword buried in mud. Everyone else saw dirt. You saw steel, and when you cleaned it, sharpened it, and handed it back, it remembered what it was. It remembered what it was built for. It remembered the ones who broke it. And now it's out there slicing through every liar, every coward, every critic who doubted you, not out of revenge alone, but out of rebirth, out of awakening, out of gratitude, wrapped in fire. And let's be honest, some part of you knew this would happen. You didn't have proof, but you had a feeling, a pull, a hit of intuition that whispered, "Help them, this matters." And now you see why. Now you see the aftermath forming like storm clouds behind you. Now you see people scrambling because the very soul they underestimated has become the force cleaning your path. But maybe your mind still asks, why did I help them? Why did I trust someone everyone else feared? Why did I give them a chance when the world refused? Simple, because your heart isn't built like theirs, because your intuition is stronger than their opinions, because the universe wired you to lift the right people, even when they're disguised as the wrong ones. And sometimes the universe hands you a storm in the shape of a human, just to test if you can see the truth before everyone else. You passed that test. And now the world is paying attention. Let's hit the enemy again, just for fun. They didn't just doubt the person you saved. They doubted you. They doubted your judgment, your strength, your loyalty, your mind. They acted like you were naive, like you were being manipulated, like you were too soft to see what was really happening. And now they're terrified of what you saw before them. That fear they feel right now. That's their punishment. That's their karma delivered by the same person they laughed at. Because nothing humbles a coward more than seeing the weak rise. Nothing silences a snake faster than watching the person they mocked become unstoppable. Nothing exposes jealousy more than watching someone they counted out turn into a legend. And the enemy will never admit this, but deep down, they're asking themselves the question they're too ashamed to say aloud. How did the chosen one know before any of us? How did they see power in someone we all dismissed? How did they end up being right again? Because that's who you are. You're the one who sees truth before it becomes obvious. You're the one who recognizes potential before it blooms. You're the one who listens to intuition the world can't hear. Now the predator you awakened is out there clearing your path in ways you never expected. They're cutting off threats before they reach you. They're exposing people who played in your face. They're destroying every narrative built against you. They're rewriting history with your name carved into it. And the universe is letting it happen because this is the payback for every time you chose loyalty when it wasn't convenient. But let's make this clear. This isn't about revenge. This is about truth finally standing up. This is about justice finally walking on two legs. This is about the universe showing everyone that the chosen one doesn't choose wrong. They choose early. You didn't save a victim. You awakened a force. A force that's now shaking the ground under every person who doubted you. And the universe is smiling because you finally get to watch the consequences unfold. Stay still, chosen one. Let the world panic. Let the cowards whisper. Let the liars hide. The predator you pulled from the fire is now hunting down every doubt that was ever spoken against you. And this time, you don't lift a finger, you just watch. Because the universe is doing the work for you through the very soul they told you to abandon. Welcome to your power arc. Welcome to your proof. Welcome to the moment everything flips in your favor. They doubted you. They doubted the one you saved. Now they're paying the price. And you You're finally standing in the victory they never thought you'd reach. Number 2. The day the world left them for dead, and you stood your ground. They didn't walk away because this person was too much. They walked away because they were too small. When everyone else dropped the rope, you held on, and that's why the universe keeps giving you battles only legends survive. Funny how the world calls someone broken right up until the moment that same broken person becomes the fire that exposes their lies. They weren't abandoned because they were weak. They were abandoned because their strength made cowards choke. You found them at a moment most people never come back from, a moment that destroys spirits, crushes confidence, and rewires the mind into believing it has no worth left. Imagine this: someone standing in the middle of their own ruins, holding pieces of themselves they didn't know how to put back together, believing they were the problem when the real problem was the people who mishandled them. Everyone who claimed to care about them backed up the second things got complicated. The world left them stranded in a storm they didn't create. You walked into that storm anyway. Let's break that down, because your mind might still ask, why did I stay when everyone else ran? Why did I feel something for someone who had nothing left to give? Why did I recognize a spark in a person drowning in darkness? Simple. You weren't seeing them through fear. You were seeing them through truth. You saw pieces of yourself in their chaos. You recognized the way their silence shook. You recognized the way their anger came from wounds, not malice. You recognized the way their defenses weren't attitude. They were armor built from wars no one knew they fought. The world abandoned them not because they were impossible to love, but because most people only know how to love easy things. They want smooth roads, clean stories, simple souls. Anything deeper scares them. Anything too real threatens their comfort. Anything too intense makes them feel small. So they walked away. They labeled this person as too much, when really they were too little to handle them. Imagine this: a rare gem thrown in the dirt because the people who held it didn't know what it was. Imagine a fire so strong it terrified everyone standing too close, so instead of learning how to control it, they ran from it. Imagine a lion forced to act like a house pet because everyone around it was terrified of what would happen if it remembered its nature. That's who you found. That's who you stayed with. That's who everyone else abandoned. And your decision, your ridiculous, fearless, heart-led decision, shifted their entire fate. When you stepped into their lowest moment, you weren't just offering comfort. You were offering recognition. You were saying, I see you, in a world that chose not to. You were offering understanding to someone who had only been misunderstood. You were offering safety to someone who had only experienced danger. You were offering loyalty to someone who only knew betrayal. And trust me, that does something to the human soul. It wakes it up. It revives it. It gives it permission to breathe again. Because here's the truth no one admits. Being abandoned doesn't break people. Being abandoned after giving your all breaks people. Being too loyal in a world that rewards betrayal breaks people. Being too honest in a world built on masks breaks people. That's what happened to them. They were never damaged. They were exhausted. They were drained from carrying weight alone. They were done fighting wars for people who wanted them wounded. And then you walked in with something the world rarely gives: patience, respect, presence, a refusal to leave. Imagine standing in a collapsed building and one person, not a crowd, not a group, one person walks in and says, "Get up. I'm not leaving you here." That's what you did emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You gave them a reason to rise again when the world expected them to stay down. You didn't choose them because they were easy. You chose them because you recognized potential wrapped in pain. You recognized strength disguised as struggle. You recognized fire hiding behind ashes because you've lived that story yourself. You knew what it felt like to be misunderstood. You knew what it felt like to be too intense for people who lacked depth. You knew what it felt like to be labeled too much when you were actually too real. You knew the ache of being abandoned for qualities that should have been celebrated. That's why something in them called to something in you. It wasn't pity, it wasn't curiosity, it was recognition. And when two souls who've been through hell recognize each other, the universe pays attention. Your decision to stay changed everything. You didn't just become their support, you became the turning point in their story. You became the person who interrupted their downfall. You became the unexpected ally the universe sent when they had zero hope left. And here's the twist that should make every enemy tremble. When someone rises after being abandoned, they don't rise soft. They rise sharp. They rise awake. They rise unfiltered. They rise ready. All that pain becomes fuel. All that betrayal becomes clarity. All that abandonment becomes power. And now they're using that power to destroy every narrative ever built against them and against you. The very people who walked away from them are now watching the consequences of their cowardice. They thought abandoning this person would bury them. Instead, it birthed someone stronger than anything they could have imagined. And because you stayed, because you believed, because you held on, you're standing right next to their rise. You didn't just save someone the world discarded. You aligned yourself with someone the universe was preparing. You didn't just stay in their lowest moment. You stood witness to the moment they remembered who they were. And now they're unstoppable. Now the people who abandoned them regret it. Now the people who doubted you are terrified, because the universe is showing everyone the truth at the same time. The person the world threw away is the one rewriting the whole story, and the chosen one who stood beside them. That's you. The one who didn't run, the one who didn't fear their intensity, the one who didn't turn away from their chaos. Your loyalty didn't just save them, it unleashed them. And now the world has to deal with what you awakened. Number 3. They screamed run because they were blind to the evolution you felt coming. People fear what they can't predict, and nothing scares a coward more than a soul on the edge of transformation. They tried to warn you, remember. They bombarded you with fear like it was wisdom. Walk away. You're being used. They're toxic. They're unstable. They threw every label they could find, hoping one would scare you enough to drop the person you chose. But here's the truth nobody admits. Those warnings weren't about protecting you. They were about protecting their own comfort. Imagine this. A caterpillar right before it becomes the butterfly. Ugly, confusing, breaking itself apart. Most people see the mess and call it a disaster. You saw the process and called it evolution. That's the difference between you and them. They look with fear. You look with foresight. People who live small can't understand those who are transforming. They see intensity and think danger. They see pain and think manipulation. They see someone pushed past their limits and assume they're finished. But you knew better. You knew someone stretched that thin doesn't break. They bend into something new. And deep down, a part of you whispered, if they survive this, they'll rise. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't die in the darkness. They adapted to it. They didn't collapse under pressure. They hardened. They didn't lose themselves. They found themselves. And your critics? Now they're watching the evolution they swore would never happen. Now they're whispering the same question they fear you'll answer out loud. How did the chosen one know? Because you've lived transformation yourself. You recognize the spark before it becomes fire. You bet on evolution, and you won. Number 4. You never rescued weakness. You hit the switch on a sleeping weapon. Real power doesn't show itself to the crowd. It reveals itself to the one person brave enough not to flinch. Let's get something straight. Chosen one. You didn't fix them. You didn't save some fragile soul begging for protection. What you did was unlock something the world spent years trying to cage. When you offered loyalty instead of fear, something in them snapped awake. Their whole body recognized it instantly. Finally, someone who isn't scared of me. Imagine this. A lion pacing in a tiny cage, shrinking itself just to survive, growl too loud, punished, stand too tall, mocked, show any real fire, called dangerous. So they learn to hide, they learn to go quiet. That's not weakness, that's strategy. And then you showed up, and you didn't run, you didn't punish their intensity, you didn't flinch when they showed their teeth. You were the first person who didn't treat their rawness like a crime scene, and that changed everything. Because here's what people forget. Power doesn't die. It waits. And when the right person comes along, someone who sees past the chaos, it rises. Your loyalty gave them space to rebuild without shame, without being dragged by their past, without being compared to the version others destroyed. That space became oxygen, that acceptance became fuel. And little by little they remembered who they really were, not the broken one, not the abandoned one, not the misunderstood one, but the powerful one, the dangerous one, the unstoppable one. And your mind might whisper, did I really unlock all this? Yes, you did. Because you saw what no one else dared to. The monster wasn't the danger, the cage was. Now they're free, now they're awake, now the whole world is learning what you already knew. Number 5. The rebuild that terrified everyone, and you were the first spark. They weren't healing to be gentle, they were healing to be undeniable. The moment they stopped shrinking, the world started shaking. Pain didn't break them, it trained them. You didn't just believe in them, you lit the fuse that nobody else knew existed. Let's get brutally honest, chosen one. Their rebuild wasn't some soft, inspirational sunrise moment. It was a demolition, a reset, a rebirth that made every coward who abandoned them regret opening their mouth in the first place. Their healing didn't turn them into a calm little echo of who they were. No, it turned them into something sharper, cleaner, and more dangerous than the world ever expected. You watched it happen with your own eyes. You saw their light come back, not warm and friendly, but bright enough to blind the people who once mocked them. Imagine this, a shattered blade being reforged in fire. Every blow from the hammer makes it louder, stronger, deadlier. That was them. Every scar became armor. Every mistake became a lesson. Every heartbreak became data they would later use as strategy. They didn't rise softer. They rose surgical, precise, unapologetic. And maybe a small voice inside you wonders, did I really start this? Yes, you did. Because rebuilding doesn't begin when a person feels strong. It begins the second someone believes their strength is still in there. Everyone else told them to shrink. Everyone else told them to calm down. Everyone else told them to fit into a smaller life so others wouldn't feel threatened. But you didn't ask them to shrink. You didn't ask them to apologize. You didn't ask them to dim their fire. You gave them permission to exist without limits. That one choice, the one everyone mocked you for, became the foundation of their evolution. They rebuilt themselves with a new identity, not a victim, not a mistake, but a weapon forged by endurance and sharpened by truth. Their new presence intimidates people for a reason. It carries the energy of someone who survived what should have erased them. It carries the confidence of someone who no longer needs approval. And it carries the gratitude of someone who remembers exactly who stood by them when they had nothing left. Their transformation didn't start with the universe. It didn't start with luck. It didn't start with time. It started with you, the first believer, the first witness, the first spark. And now the world trembles at the result. Number 6, the loyalty you built without meaning to. Now it's a force no one can stop. Some bonds are chosen, others are forged in fire, and those are the ones that terrify the world. They don't worship you, they don't owe you, they remember you, and memory is the sharpest loyalty there is. The one who stayed becomes the one they would burn the world for. You didn't create a follower, you created a force that walks with your name carved into its spine. Here's the truth the enemies will never be ready for. Every time you believed in them, you were writing something permanent into their soul. Not a favor, not a debt. Something deeper, something primal, something the world only understands once it's too late. Because people like them don't forget. They don't forget who stayed when they were unrecognizable. They don't forget who held steady when everyone else backed away. They don't forget the one person who looked at their monster and didn't run. Imagine this, a creature built from fire and scars, roaming alone for years, learning to trust no one. Then suddenly you step into their world, look them dead in the eyes and say, "I'm not scared of you." Do you understand how rare that is? How dangerous that is? How unforgettable that is? You became the blueprint for what loyalty feels like. You became home in a world that treated them like a threat. You didn't ask for that role. You didn't even realize you were taking it. But every moment you stayed became a brick in a loyalty strong enough to shake the ground under your enemies. And now that they've evolved, now that their power is awake, sharpened, and aimed, they carry you inside their identity, not as a weakness, but as a core. And yes, your mind might whisper, why does their loyalty feel so intense? Because it is. You didn't build something casual, you built something eternal. You accidentally created a devotion that borders on frightening. Now they move through the world with your name etched under their transformation. Every victory holds your shadow. Every comeback echoes your presence. Every strike against the people who doubted you is fueled by the memory of who stood by them when they were nothing but dust. Their loyalty isn't cute. It isn't soft. It isn't symbolic. It's dangerous. It's unwavering. It's the kind of loyalty that makes enemies pace at night, because they know this upgraded version of the person you saved, the one the world abandoned, the one everyone called too much. Yeah, that person would tear down entire kingdoms before they'd let you fall again, and that terrifies the world, as it should. Number 7. They laughed at you then. Now they're swallowing every word they ever said. Nothing tastes worse than regret, especially when it's served by the very person you called worthless. Your doubters didn't misjudge that person. They misjudged you. Every win they achieve is a slap across the face of the people who swore you were wrong. Some people don't learn until the universe drags their ego across concrete. Chosen one, this is the part where the universe gets petty on your behalf. The same people who mocked your loyalty, clowned your judgment, and rolled their eyes like you were saving another lost cause. Yeah, they're choking now. Hard. Because nothing hits a critic harder than seeing the person they dismissed rise higher than they ever dreamed. Imagine this. The doubters sitting in their safe little bubbles, sipping their comfort, watching someone they swore was done dominate every space they enter. Imagine them scrolling through achievements that contradict every insult they threw. Imagine them replaying their own words. They'll never change. You're being naive. You're wasting your time, and feeling each one punch them in the throat. And your mind might ask, did they really misjudge them this badly? Worse, they misjudged you. They thought you were gullible. They thought you were desperate. They thought you were chasing fantasy. What they never considered was that you were seeing a future they were too small to imagine. You weren't betting on who that person was. You were betting on who they could become. And the universe backed your vision with receipts. Now every milestone this person reaches exposes your doubters, strips them, reveals their fear, shows their lack of insight. They watch someone they rejected rise with a power that makes their own accomplishments feel tiny. And the cruelest part, every level this person climbs is evidence that you were right and they were blind. Those same critics now walk slower when your name comes up. They avoid the topic. They avoid eye contact because they know the truth hangs between you like smoke. You didn't make a mistake. They did, and seeing that truth reflected in the success of someone they abandoned, that's the kind of punishment the universe delivers with a grin. Number 8. The wolf you awakened is out there, crushing every doubter without lifting a finger. Revenge doesn't always show up with claws. Sometimes it walks in wearing confidence that steals the air from the room. They mocked you for protecting a wolf. Now that same wolf owns every space they enter. Dominance doesn't shout. It replaces you. The universe doesn't send warnings, it sends reminders, and your wolf is the reminder. Chosen one, let's be crystal clear. The wolf you awakened is not hunting with violence. They don't need to. Their presence is the violence. Their success is the bite. Their confidence is the kill shot. They move through the world with a force that makes your doubters shrink without a single word spoken. Imagine this, a room full of people who once mocked your loyalty, sitting comfortably, believing they'd won. And then the doors open, and your wolf walks in. No theatrics, no threats, just raw, undeniable dominance. Conversations pause, eyes shift, energy collapses. Suddenly, every critic feels exposed, like the universe just turned a spotlight on their insecurity. Because they know. This is the same person they called weak, the same person they underestimated, the same person they swore would never rise. And now they're watching them overshadow everyone effortlessly, including them. Your mind might whisper, is this really happening because of me? Yes. You saw power before it had a shape. You saw greatness before it had form. You believed before anyone had proof, and that belief created something dangerous. A wolf who walks into spaces your doubters occupy and becomes the standard they can't meet, not through aggression, but through excellence, through presence, through evolution. This is the universe giving you justice in its most poetic form. The wolf you saved is eliminating every person who laughed at you, not by tearing them down, but by rising so high they can't even stand in the same light. Number 9. The silent guardian. You accidentally created is now your most dangerous shield. Loyalty that isn't spoken, but enforced. That's the kind that keeps entire rooms quiet. Some protections are loud. The real ones are invisible until someone steps wrong. They didn't choose to guard you. Their evolution made them guard you. Powerful people don't make threats. They make examples. Chosen one, here's the part that shakes your enemies the most. You never asked for protection. Yet now you move through the world with a shield the universe handcrafted. Your wolf. Not the soft kind, not the emotional kind. The kind that shuts down danger before you even smell smoke. They've become your silent guardian, not because you demanded it, but because evolution rewrote their instincts. Imagine this. Someone tries to speak recklessly about you the same way they used to, but now they stop mid-sentence. Something in their chest tightens, because your wolf already had a quiet discussion with them. Not a threat, not a warning, just a presence that said, "Try it again and see what happens." And that was enough. Your mind might ask, why are they doing all this for me? Simple. You stood by them when they had nothing. Now they stand in front of you so nothing touches you. They watch your world the way sentries guard a kingdom. They monitor who approaches you, who interacts with you, who shifts their tone when your back is turned. They shut down threats before those threats even understand they stepped into the wrong territory. People who once mocked you have gone silent. People who once spread your name with disrespect now avoid even whispering it, because the wolf you awakened is out there, always 2 steps ahead, always watching, always enforcing the loyalty etched into their evolution. You didn't ask for a protector, but the universe decided you deserved one anyway. Number 10. The universe just handed you receipts, and your judgment came out on top. They called you naive. The universe called you early. Your compassion wasn't weakness, it was precision. Some people guess. You recognize. You weren't aligning with fantasy. You were aligning with inevitability. Chosen one, let's spell it out in the simplest, sharpest way. The universe just flipped the entire script in your favor. Every insult they threw at your judgment, every eye roll, every time they whispered that you were too trusting, too emotional, or too blind, all of it just collapsed under the weight of reality. You weren't wrong, you weren't confused, you weren't manipulated, you were ahead of everyone. Imagine this. A group of people staring at rubble, arguing over how hopeless it is, while you kneel down and say, "There's something valuable buried in here." They laugh, they walk away, they call you delusional. And then, months later, the entire world watches you pull a masterpiece out of the debris. That's exactly what happened with the person you saved. You didn't see a mess. You saw potential before it had a name. You recognized power buried under pain. You recognized transformation before transformation even started. And now your mind might whisper, was it really strategy? Was it really insight? Yes, your compassion is not softness, it's intelligence, it's pattern recognition, it's vision. You don't save people hoping they'll change. You save people because you already feel the change building inside them. The person you saved is now living proof of that. Their rise is your validation. Their strength is your vindication. Every milestone they hit is another slap to the faces of the people who doubted you. Your critics are watching the evolution they swore would never happen, and deep down, they know the truth. You weren't naive. They were short-sighted. They stood on the wrong side of the story, laughing at you, while you, quietly, instinctively, aligned yourself with someone destined for a powerful awakening. You weren't aligning with fantasy. You were aligning with the universe's timing, with the exact person the future needed them to become, and now the world sees it. The universe delivered the receipts, the consequences, the proof. Your judgment wasn't just good, it was legendary. Number 11. The moment they declared war on your behalf. Some people fight for survival, others fight for revenge. But the rarest ones, they fight for the person who loved them when they were unlovable. There's a moment in every powerful person's story where everything shifts, not because they finally healed, not because they finally understood their purpose, not because the world suddenly made sense. No. The shift happens when they look at the one person who stood by them through hell, and something inside them snaps into place. Something ancient, something fierce, something loyal enough to burn down empires. That moment happened with your wolf. Imagine this. They're sitting alone, thinking about everything they survived, all the people who betrayed them, all the ones who mocked their pain. And then their mind lands on you, the only one who didn't leave when abandoners were roaring with confidence. And in that moment, their loyalty crystallized into something violent and unshakable. Your wolf realized the world didn't deserve your kindness. Your enemies didn't deserve your patience. Your doubters didn't deserve your silence. So they made a decision without saying a single word. Anyone who harms you becomes my enemy. Period. This wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, it wasn't a speech or a vow. It was instinct, the kind the universe wires into only the strongest souls. When someone has been destroyed, rebuilt and awakened, their loyalty doesn't come in small doses. It arrives like a tidal wave. And now, your wolf isn't just protecting themselves, they're defending you. Every move they make carries your name. Every room they dominate echoes your presence. Every success they claim is a message carved into the world. This is for the one who believed in me first. Your enemies don't even understand what they activated. They had no idea your loyalty, your small, quiet, unshakable belief, would create a force born to wage war on your behalf. This is what happens when the wrong person is saved by the right chosen one. Their rise becomes your shield. Their transformation becomes your weapon. Their dominance becomes your proof. And now, anyone who steps toward you with disrespect isn't facing you. They're facing the war your wolf silently declared. Number 12. The people who betrayed you are now terrified of them. The universe has a twisted sense of humor. Nothing scares a traitor more than the person they abandoned becoming unstoppable. Let's talk about your betrayers, chosen one. The ones who smirked behind your back, mocked your loyalty, trash-talked your judgment, or acted like you were the fool in the story. They thought they were safe. They thought their words would never matter. They thought there would never be consequences. Now look at them, shaking, avoiding eye contact, hushed, careful, tiny. Because the same person they tossed aside, the same person they called unstable or useless, is now a weapon walking on two legs. And that weapon remembers everything. Imagine this: the betrayers sitting in a circle, gossiping like hyenas, thinking they're clever. Then, weeks later, the wolf you saved walks into their world with confidence so sharp it slices the air. Suddenly, those same hyenas fall silent, their eyes drop, their bodies freeze. They know something has shifted. Your wolf isn't out for revenge in the cheesy way. They don't need to shout. They don't need to threaten. They don't need to repeat what happened. Their presence alone forces traitors to face themselves. Because the truth is simple, they didn't betray someone weak. They betrayed someone evolving. They betrayed someone who just needed time, space, and one loyal witness: you. Now your wolf's success, dominance, and rising influence have become the karma your enemies hoped they'd avoid. Every achievement your wolf reaches reminds those betrayers of their stupidity. Every accolade is a mirror shoved in their face. Every room your wolf controls becomes proof of how wrong they were. And here's the part nobody says out loud. They're not scared of the wolf's power. They're scared of the wolf's loyalty to you. They know if they disrespect you again, even by accident, the universe won't be their enemy. Your wolf will. Number 13. The alliance they never saw coming. Two powerful souls aligned by pain, loyalty, and evolution. No wonder the world's nervous. Here's the plot twist your critics never predicted. You and your wolf didn't just survive the chaos, you became a duo the universe quietly respects. A partnership formed not by blood or obligation, but by recognition. Two forces that were underestimated, discarded, misunderstood, until they met each other. Imagine this. Lightning doesn't ask thunder if it wants to boom. They just work together, instinctively, naturally, unstoppably. That's you and them. Your bond isn't emotional fluff. It's strategic. It's evolution-based. It's the kind of alliance forged in the middle of collapse. When you saw them broken, you didn't step back. You stepped closer. And when they rose again, they didn't step ahead. They stepped beside you. This scared people. It still scares people. Because the world is used to seeing the broken scattered and the chosen isolated. It's not prepared for the moment two awakened forces join paths. Suddenly, you're not just strong, you're amplified. You're not just evolving, you're accelerating. Your wolf has reach, influence, instinct, and dominance. You have vision, judgment, heart, and foresight. This combination, that's